as a lady. And then public comments, we've only got 3 people signed up.
Okay. Get seated so we can get started with our county council meeting. We first going to start out with our public hearing. I think we have one public hearing that's on the docket, and our Madam Clerk is going to read that. Ms. Salisbury?
Yes, sir. Notice is hereby given that the County Council of Charleston that a public hearing will be held in council chambers at 6:30 p.m. on Tuesday, March 15th, 2022. Before final action is taken to extend financial incentives to Elbit Systems of America.
Okay, anybody sign up to speak?
No, sir.
Anything from council members? Okay, that concludes our public hearing. All right, do we have a special finance? Or
We do have it's executive session, so I don't know when you want to do that.
Okay, but all right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to move into public comments at this time, where we allow the public for up to 30 minutes to address this body. Each person will be given 2 minutes to speak. We ask that you give us your name and your address, and we ask that you govern yourself accordingly. First speaker.
First person is Anthony Bryant, followed by Elizabeth Grund.
He's back.
I told him we'd.
All right, sir.
Need you to sign those 2 resolutions.
I might give him 5 minutes, because I hadn't seen him in over a year and a
Come on with
half.
it. Mr. Bryant, I got your representation. Mr. Bryant, come on with it.
I might give you 5. So go ahead.
You've done a great job. I watch y'all on YouTube and
Yes, sir.
an outstanding job of what was going on in terms of how our council should go. Free speech is important to me.
Yes, sir.
So you provided free speech under very turbulent times in our country. So we have to be mindful of separation of church and state too, because affordable housing is a pretty serious issue. But I spoke before the redistricting in the Senate of Luke Rankin and others, and you should take your concerns to Columbia, not here. Now, the financial behavioral controls of the solicitor's office and the sheriff's, you have no control over what they do or they don't do. You just appropriate their money. I think it's important that notice is given to the public in terms of where your limitations are. You have deep limitations in this body. And I think too many times people who want to be agent provocateurs for local media and social media platforms are wasting the time of taxpayers and also your time as well. We got people that really need some help in this community as far as affordable housing. We got at-risk homelessness seriously happening in New York and DC. People got hurt, homeless people got hurt in New York and in DC. This is a serious issue for our community. And you didn't plan on the Charleston growing to be #1 in tourism or whatever, but we are here right now. We have to be mindful in terms of what that means to everybody, not just a few of us, but all of us. I want to submit for the record these documents to support my concerns. I think they're self-explanatory in terms of what it is. But I think that, to Chairman Pryor, you have to meet with the General Assembly at some point and talk about getting water and sewer contracts with CPW for rural areas. They're getting a ton of money. $14 billion was passed by the House today. So that's $14 billion we'll never see again. So make it your business to get on the phone with them and say, we need our money in Charleston County. Thank you for your time and service.
Thank you. Good to see you again, Tony.
Elizabeth Grund, Brandon Fish.
My name's Betsy Grund. I live at 5 Weston Avenue in downtown, and Mr. Wehrman, you're my council member. I'm here tonight with friends from the Charleston Area Justice Ministry. Last night at Mount Moriah Missionary Baptist Church here in North Charleston, over 500 of us gathered for our annual rally. It's to prepare us for our Nehemiah Action event that takes place this year on Monday, April 4th at 7 o'clock. I want to warmly welcome and ask that each of you attend the Nehemiah Action on April 4th at 7 o'clock. It'll be at the District 4 CCSD Stadium just off of Montague Avenue in North Charleston. 500 of us gathered last night together because we found common ground. The common ground is housing unaffordability. If you've ever been to a Cajun gathering, you were probably surprised, as I was and have been over the 10 years, how diverse the room of people is. Young, old, black, white, Muslim, Jewish, Christian, brown, you name it. We come together because rental prices are choking us or someone we love throughout Charleston, someone we care about. We've seen movement from this council and staff, and we are happy about that and appreciate it. Movement toward what our friends and family and neighbors so desperately need. That is to develop a housing trust fund, to set it up and fund it well. If this is not the direction you're headed or are not supportive of the county working to make housing affordable, we ask that you give up your seat to someone in the community who's better in touch with the plight of our community. If you're with us, if you want to create affordable housing, we are here to support you and help you to do that. I'd just like to briefly ask people who are in favor of the Housing Trust Fund to just briefly stand so that you can see the support we have here in the room.
Thank you, ma'am.
Brandon Fish, and then Marilyn McKinley.
Good evening.
You can pull
council
that up,
members.
Brandon. Pull the mic up. Yeah, that's good. You want to lean down.
I'm a resident of West Ashley, Ashley Hall Plantation Road. Councilman Moody, you are my councilman. I am a proud nonprofit professional here in Charleston, South Carolina, and I was asked to come speak today because as somebody that makes, I would imagine, a pretty average income for an individual in Charleston County, I have to tell you that there's a housing problem here. I was living in Mount Pleasant until this year, and my rent overnight went up 50%. I have had to live with a roommate for some period of time because rent is so expensive. And when this happened to me, I decided that I needed to go find my own place. So I tried to do that, and I noticed that rent had gone up about 40% in West Ashley at all of the places that I knew beforehand, and a lot of the places I called actually said that they had waiting lists, that there was no move-in date for the coming year. So there is a serious housing shortage going on, and as a nonprofit professional, I actually meet a lot of people, especially seniors, that have trouble finding affordable housing in our county. There is a serious shortage of public housing, and these people will end up on the street if they cannot find a place to live. So along with several others tonight, I am asking that you all adopt the ordinance and fund the Housing Trust Fund. Thank you.
Thank you. Next,
And then the last person is Marilyn McKinley.
McKinley. Marilyn McKinley.
Please void that name.
Okay. That's it. Okay, thank you. All right, so here's what we're going to do. Instead of keeping some folks here, I'm going to start out with our regular county council meeting and then suspend it and go to our special finance committee meeting, after we do recognitions. So at this time, we are going to stand. I'm going to ask Mr. Darby to lead us in prayer and Ms. Salisbury to lead us in the pledge.
If we may. Heaven help the child who never had a home. Heaven help the girl who walks the street alone. Heaven help the roses as the bombs begin to fall. Heaven help us all. Heaven help the boy who won't reach 21. Heaven help the man who gave that boy a gun. Heaven help the people at their backs against the wall. Heaven help us all. As we go tonight to sleep, in a troubled world, I pray the Lord to keep. Keep mighty from the small, and keep the small from the hatred. Heaven help us all. Amen.
Ms. Salisbury, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Mr. Darby. Thank you, Ms. Salisbury. You may be seated at this time. Let me get my agenda here now.
No, ma'am. I copied that. Mr. Pryor, would you mind my saying something, sir?
Let me go through the Freedom of Information Act and the
Yes, sir.
minutes, please. All right, so Ms. Crosby, the Freedom of Information Act.
In compliance with the Freedom of Information Act, notice of meeting was posted, agendas were distributed to news media and persons requesting notification.
Okay, item number 2 is the minutes of March 1st, 20.
approval.
Is there a second? Moved and seconded. Any deletion or additions? Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, ayes have it. Mr. Darby, before I go to number 3.
I just want to say that I am a great supporter of Kajam. I must also say that I've supported housing when it wasn't favorable to do so. But the rhetoric that is used, I resent that very strongly. I really do, to say that if we don't see it your way, we need to give up our seat. I really don't understand that. We're not anti-housing. We're here to help people. That's what we're fighting for. But to use that kind of rhetoric, you're going to lose support. So let's be mindful of the words that we say, because words do hurt. To give up your seat just because if someone were to disagree, this still is America. Now you keep using that language, some people will get tired. I'm going to get tired of it. And you're going to lose the little support that I give my one vote. So please be careful on what we say, please. That's all I ask. Everybody has feelings. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Darby. Item number 3 is recognition and solutions. What is the pleasure?
Move for
Second.
adoption.
That's A and B.
Yes.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, ayes have it. I'm going to ask the famous Reese G to please come forward for Women's History Month. Ms. Johnson, I think you nominated, so I'm going to let you present that to her, but I'll have the clerk to read it. Come right up, this way right here, man. And you can push those. Yeah, come right into the gate. Yeah, this young lady has something else. I mean, she's community-minded. Anywhere you go, you'll see her in the community, and God bless you and thank you for it. All right, Ms. Salisbury?
A resolution of Charleston County Council honoring Reese G. during National Women's History Month. Whereas Charleston County Council recognizes that the foundation of our community is grounded in those who give of themselves selflessly to help others, and from time to time have the privilege of recognizing an individual who exemplifies such a commitment. And whereas Reese G. was born in Queens, New York, but relocated as a young adult to Charleston, South Carolina, the endeared home of her family's roots. And whereas Reese G. graduated from South Carolina State University with a Bachelor of Arts in Professional English. And whereas Reese G. began her radio career in 2001 as a promotion tech and was promoted within 6 months to marketing director, where she managed the day-to-day operations for 3 of Charleston's top-rated radio stations. And whereas Reese G. stepped into the role of on-air personality in 2006 as the host of the midday show on Z93 Jams, which has been the #1 midday show in Charleston consistently for the past 15 years. And whereas Reese G. has enjoyed many great experiences in radio, but what she enjoys most is interacting with the public and hearing their inspiring stories, which was the driving force for her video podcast show On the Reel, where she hopes to inspire everyday people through everyday people. And whereas Reese G. has a diverse professional background, as she has worked in the motion picture industry with several award-winning directors, producers, and actors, appeared in numerous television commercials, has worked as a print model, owns a production company where she has produced and coordinated many major large-scale events, festivals, and productions. And whereas Reese G. strongly believes in using her platform to uplift people to make a positive and meaningful impact in their lives, and provides words of encouragement about life, love, and happiness on her Daily Motivation series. Now therefore be it resolved that Charleston County Council does hereby recognize Reese G. during National Women's History Month for her outstanding professionalism and commitment to this community, and extends its genuine appreciation to her on behalf of all the citizens of this county. Charleston County Council, Teddy E. Pryor, Senior Chairman.
All right. So, would you like your daughter to come up and take a photo with you? Have your daughter come up and take a photo. Ms. Johnson, I'll allow you to speak, and then we go right next to Ms. Reese G.
All right, thank you so much. It is a pleasure to know this young lady. I met her at our library and on James Island when we did the shots, and I was so impressed with her. And to know that she came all the way from Queens and remained here in the Charleston community and showing your talent and your professionalism here, sharing it with the Low Country. I'm so happy about that. And please don't leave now that you're retiring.
do
Okay.
But it's a joy to have you here. Thank you.
All right.
And nice to meet you.
Any words from you?
Yes,
Um,
thank you so much, Vice Chairman Johnson, Chairman Fryer, County Council.
Just call me Teddy.
Teddy, I'll tell you my man now. But as it says, I started many years ago in radio for 20 years, been on the air for 15, and even though I've been doing it for so long, every day I'm put forth the effort to strive to be better than I was the day before, and to make sure that I'm not just entertaining and providing quality content, but making an impact in the community and the lives of the people within the community. And so sometimes I have to ask myself, am I doing that? And recently, just randomly, people will tell me, Reese, we hear you, we see you, we appreciate you. Even Teddy, who was on my show last month, said the same thing. And this just further confirms that I am. And I just want to thank you all. And to be recognized for Women's History Month means a lot, because my mom passed away last year at the age of 81. So I dedicate this to her, because I'm the woman I am today because of her. And she was, or I should say is, because her spirit still lives, my biggest supporter, my biggest fan. And in the last few years of her life, I would take her places and drive her around. And in the last year of her life, as her health deteriorated, she was in and out of the hospital, and I would always be the one to take her. And every time I would get in her car, Z93 jams would be blasting in the speakers. And I would just be like, wow, and it just tickles me. I'm like, this old lady listening to hip hop. But what it meant is that she wasn't listening for the music. She was listening because of me. And that just warms my heart. So I dedicate this to her, and I thank you once again. Truly grateful and honored, and I just thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you so much. And y'all come on up. Yeah, go ahead, take a picture. And the young lady that's taking the picture, that's the president of Cumulus Broadcast, I believe they call it. The program director. Oh, well, all right, all right. I know, you know, and take the promotion. Yeah, take the promotion. And hey, Reese, take that, and that's gonna be worth something one day. So make sure you keep it. All right. That signature.
Yeah, your signature
Worth
on it,
something.
so it is.
All right.
Hers work more than mine.
All right. Thank you so much.
Ms. Johnson
Ms.
needs to
Johnson,
stay
the
out
next
there.
one is Ms. Barbara Wright. Would you please come forward, Ms. Barbara Wright?
Ms. Wright, will you have your family to come with you to your husband and son? Are they here?
So you're gonna start reading if you want. I'll wait till they get up. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, going up a little closer, let them come in. Yeah, that's, yeah. Some can go down this way if they want to, make it easier on the camera. Ms. Salisbury?
Yes, sir. A resolution of Charleston County Council honoring Barbara A. Wright. Whereas Charleston County Council recognizes that the foundation of our community is grounded in those who give of themselves selflessly to help others. And whereas Charleston County Council from time to time has the privilege of recognizing an individual who exemplifies such a commitment. And whereas Barbara A. Wright was born in Charleston, South Carolina on April 26, 1953, and whereas Barbara A. Wright married Anthony Wright of Red Top, where they have lived together and have 2 sons, 1 daughter, and 6 grandchildren. And whereas Barbara A. Wright was a preschool teacher at various schools in the Charleston area, but spent 18 years working as a preschool teacher at Redeemer Lutheran Children's Center, and retired from that school in 2016. And whereas Barbara A. Wright believes in community service and was instrumental in establishing many programs for the children of the Red Top community, including athletic teams, a drill team, an after-school tutoring program, summer programs, and most recently helped the community Girl Scout troop. She also served on the Community Association's board for many years in different roles, including acting president for more than a decade until stepping down last year. And whereas Barbara A. Wright is a dedicated servant of the Lord, an active member of New Bethel AME Church, where she served as YPD director, trustee, steward, missionary board member, and choir member. And whereas Barbara A. Wright is known in her community as a person who loves her family, church, friends, the Red Top community, and the world in which she lives. She is affectionately known as Aunt Bobby or Mrs. Bobby to most of the young people in the Red Top community because she has opened her door to so many of them over the years. Now therefore be it resolved that County Council of Charleston County does hereby commend Barbara A. Wright for outstanding service to her community and extends genuine appreciation to her on behalf of all of the citizens of this county. Charleston County Council, Teddy E. Pryor, Senior Chairman.
Okay.
It is my pleasure to honor Ms. Wright today. When I first came on council, I heard this name and Red Top to call Ms. Wright if I had any concerns, if it was something going on, to call her. And I just want to say that she has done her job so well that not only did I get to call her when her health failed her, her husband was there to pick up the phone and say he's going to do something. And her son was calling and said he was doing something. So she trained her family. Everybody in the family is helping the community. You can't beat that, y'all. This was a jewel in your community. And I just had to say, let's show her our appreciation. And I'm glad that you all came out to do that. And Ms. Miller has a little gift for you.
Ms. Wright, if you'd like to say something while she's coming forward, go right ahead.
I just want to say thank you. Most time I'm not lost for words. Because I usually pick up on everything. They got me this time. And I just want to thank everybody. I thank God for my chance. Thank everybody. And I just want to say it aloud. And ask that you guys pray for me, that our community will continue to grow stronger. And I say thank you again, and I love you. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Thank you.
We have a large group with us tonight, and that shows how much Barbara has done for our community. The work she's done is endless, so we just want to take this opportunity to say thank you to Barbara and to her family for allowing her to help our community.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Wright. And that's going to be worth something. Say that, okay? All right, thank you so much for those. And anybody that wants to be excused at this time, they can be excused. We're going to suspend our regular county council meeting, and we are going to go into a special finance committee meeting. I'm going to give them a few minutes to leave, and then we'll go into our finance committee meeting. Okay, so, Madam Attorney, there's a need for an executive session to discuss a potential property purchase.
Sir.
So is there a motion to enter into executive session? Is there a second? Second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, ayes have it. We will adjourn and hopefully we'll be back short. Who all did you need in? This, you can bring them in, Mr. Administrator.
Bar pretty high for those of us who are.
Okay, so we are now out of executive session. We received legal advice. No action was taken. Oh, no. Is there a motion before we move on?
Somebody's gotta make a motion. No, from executive session. Somebody's gotta make a motion.
Somebody's gonna make a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Ms. Johnson,
I move that we move forward with the purchase of this
is there a second?
property.
All right, I'll second for discussion. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Recusal,
All right, state the reason, ma'am, and sign the paper when you get on the way out.
a legal representation of the involved party.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. All right, that's fine. The motion passes. We now reconvene our county council meeting. All right, we move to item 4, Ms. Salisbury, which is third reading ordinance.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
motion for Elbit Systems for the third reading to amend the ordinance for Elbit Systems fee in lieu of taxes to change the capital investment from 35 million to 31.1 million.
Okay, is there a second to his amendment? Second. Okay, any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, Ms. Salisbury, third reading with the amendment.
Yes, sir. An ordinance authorizing the execution and delivery of a fee in lieu of tax agreement by and between Charleston County and Elbit Systems of America LLC, whereby Charleston County will enter into a fee in lieu of taxes arrangement with Elbit Systems of America LLC as sponsor, providing for payment by Elbit Systems of America LLC of certain fees in lieu of ad valorem taxes, providing for certain special source revenue or infrastructure credits, providing for the allocation of a fee in lieu of taxes paid by Elbit Systems of America LLC under the agreement for establishment of multi-county industrial business park and other matters related thereto as amended. Mr. Darby?
Aye.
Mrs. Honeycutt?
Aye.
Ms. Johnson? Mr. Middleton?
Aye.
Mr. Moody?
Aye.
Mr. Sass? Oh, absent. Mr. Schwiers?
Aye.
Mr. Werman? Mr. Pryor?
Aye.
The ordinance passes third reading with 8 ayes and 1 absent at the time of voting.
Okay, item 5, Ms. Salisbury, is sale of the Charleston Center property, second reading,
Yes, sir.
334 Calhoun Street.
1 second. Okay, there we go. All right. An ordinance authorizing the conveyance of real property totaling approximately 2.68 acres located at 334 Calhoun Street, parcel ID 46014000019 to CHS 334 LLC and/or its assigns. Mr. Darby?
Aye.
Mrs. Honeycutt?
Aye.
Ms. Johnson? Mr. Middleton?
Aye.
Mr. Moody?
Aye.
This is absent. Mr. Schwiers?
Aye.
Mr. Werman? Mr. Pryor?
Aye.
The ordinance passes second reading with 8 ayes and 1 absent.
Item 6, Riley Center Strategic Planning Contract, what is the pleasure?
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second, any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, ayes have it. Item number 7 is consent agenda A, B, and C. What is the pleasure? Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Moody. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, ayes have it. Item number 8 is our Housing Steering Committee recommendation.
We move this.
Approve. A.
Approved, second by
A
Ms.
through-
Johnson,
yeah.
moved by Reverend Middleton. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, ayes have it. Okay, Finance Committee recommendation, we have a Medal of Honor presentation by Mr. McQueenie. I'm going to let him make that presentation before we take the vote, right? Okay, Mr. McQueenie?
Y'all had asked some questions. Y'all had asked some
All right, y'all done asked some questions, so any questions he's going to bring in this presentation, maybe that'll help y'all with some of your questions. Do we need?
Mr. Chairman, if we could run the film first, and then if I could do that.
That's fine. Turn up the volume, please. right, so are we gonna vote on that? Or
Yes, sir.
where's that at?
Over on this request to consider, remember it's
Okay,
the,
okay, yeah, I'm good.
yes, sir. Sorry.
Teddy, if I could just say a couple things.
Yes, sir.
Mr. McQueenie, one of the main reasons you're here, at our last meeting, there was a little bit of confusion on how this whole thing went down. And I was the one that made the motion that we require our money to be subject to the state and the town of Mount Pleasant donations. So, and a couple of our members here have never heard from y'all. So I thought instead of us having a discussion where people were not as educated at our last meeting, I thought, well, let's have Mr. McQueenie here to speak to us, to enlighten us on what the progress has been. So that's the reason we invited you here tonight.
All right, and I'm glad to answer any questions you'd have. Could I start with just a statement of where we are? Ironically, COVID would seem to set people back. It actually sped us up, which is really good. We were able to put together our education program where we collaborate with colleges all over the country. And this is a fabulous program. What we're trying to do is teach leadership starting at the college level. Now, the Medal of Honor already has it in K through 12. They have a character development program. They've agreed with us, they've collaborated with us to move this beyond to graduate work even, and even into adult education. So we've been working with folks from like the Moore School in Columbia, Johns Hopkins University, of course, the Krause Leadership Program right here at the Citadel. And we have others on our radar that we will collaborate with. So the programs are moving forward. What we want to do is export digitally the education of our next generation and the generations that come with the principles of the recipients of the Medal of Honor. And let me remind everybody that we have an agreement with the Congressional Medal of Honor Society. They're staying right here. They're not going anywhere. They're on the Yorktown, and we're moving them landside to Patriots Point. And so we've worked towards that end. And like I mentioned about COVID, you know, normally we would have had to get together to meet because of COVID. We were able to meet 2 and 3 times a week to get this done. And it's really moved us way down the road with developing this national program, in addition to getting our architectural plans completed and getting our exhibit plans completed. So I printed a 1-pager. I know I don't want to take a lot of your time with that, but kind of figured you probably need to know where we are because we haven't seen each other because of COVID. But that said, I'm glad to answer any questions you may have.
Any question for Mr. McQueenie before we move forward?
I had one, Teddy.
Okay, Mr. Moody.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. McQueenie, thank you for being here. Big fan of this. My question is more towards cash flow.
Mm-hmm.
So
you've gotten $2 million from the state. We give you $2 million. I saw the town of Mount Pleasant's already paid in full. Your board is raising money. All good things. So, what's the plan for this cash flow? That was my question last time we decided to have you come in here. Is it going to sit in your account, or my concern is we go spend a bunch of money now, and then maybe the state doesn't come through with theirs, which then means we don't come through with ours, and you're kind of stuck.
Yeah.
Needing money. So what are the immediate plans for the money that we're providing?
Well, it's a very good question. We just on March 1st we did a national search for a CEO, Chief Development Officer. I brought him here tonight. I'll introduce him, Tom Mundell. Tom is out of Pittsburgh, and we've started into our silent phase. We've already been to several corporations for our initial meetings. So we're going right into the silent phase. As you know, with most of these campaigns, you raise 75% of your money before you go public. And that's what we're doing. And we feel real good about where we are and how fast we've gotten there. So I know that it may seem, because it's not in the news all the time, and because it's not in the news doesn't mean it's not there. It is there, and it's very exciting, and we're moving it forward. And in terms of cash flow, the state has already sent $1 million, which we've deposited, and then the town of Mount Pleasant has completely paid their $3 million. And then we've got other funds that are coming from private individuals and board members and so forth.
So are these going to pay for soft costs? We've got a new employee. Engineering. Glick Mame is a wonderful engineering firm. I mean, what are these funds going for? Are you just,
now we've already paid. I'm sorry.
Are you just stacking it up until you get the rest of the money, or what is this money going to be used for now until the rest of the money comes in?
Let me answer it in 2 ways. The money we needed to spend early, we've done. We've been very good stewards of our funds. I'm going to estimate that we've spent less than $600,000 in 2.5 years. So that'll tell you. But we've already got our engineering plans, our architectural plans and our exhibit plans in place. We've already started the process with the town of Mount Pleasant for approvals. We've stayed within their guidelines as to height, setbacks, all their restrictions. We don't want to fight that battle. We want to be in this community and in this state and in the bigger picture in this country to do something that is very, very meaningful to our children and our grandchildren. So that's where we're headed with that. We feel like we're pretty well funded. Again, with the start of our campaign with Mr. Mundell, we're going to be in a lot of boardrooms all over the country. I've been on my own, for instance, just last month out to California to meet with individuals that are high-value individuals, I'll say billionaires. So we're working it. So, any other questions?
Mr. Sass.
Thank you, Mr. Pryor. Mr. Queen, I appreciate all this. It's going to be nice to see the project that'll fit in with what Patriots Point really looks like over there. And I understand y'all have a piece of property leased, will be leased right next to the Yorktown. So it's going to have a prominent location. It'll be right on the water there, and really, it's an impressive looking building.
Well, you know where that guard gate is where you go into Patriots Point? That's where our building will be, and it'll, again, the backdrop will be Charleston Harbor. We think it's potentially one of the finest pieces of property on the East Coast. And in terms of the cash that we're doing, Patriots Point requires in our lease that we produce 75% of the building cost and sustainability funds of cash and cash equivalents. So you're asking about the county's funding. Again, that would be cash and cash equivalents. That would count. So it's very, very important to us that you support us, and thank you for that.
Mr. Chair, I've served on the board of the National Law Enforcement Museum, especially during the time that we were constructing it in the early days, and until now that it's come to fruition, it was authorized by Congress, and even they had their own share of funding cash flow issues. Even with that authorization, took a long time for it to be built. Finally came online in Washington, D.C. The pandemic hit, and the bonds almost were, closed upon. And so, there were, depending on, the traffic coming in through ticket sales and that sort of thing, programming fell through. So it really requires a lot of study, and I know you all are doing that, but I would like to just kind of say that for the record, to make certain that all of the programmatic implementation models that you're anticipating are sustainable. Because if you're just depending on ticket sales of groups coming in, over time, that will not do it. And I don't know if, we're anticipating the county forever to continue inputting, certain funds, in the project, but definitely wanted to just look at the National Law Enforcement Museum in Washington, D.C., one of the only underground museums in America. Beautiful place, but a lot of financial trouble.
Yeah, and thank you very much for that, because it kind of leads into another little point. We did a deep study on this, museums as a whole, and we don't call ourselves a museum. We call ourselves the National Medal of Honor Leadership and Education Center. What we're going to export is a lot larger than what people will be coming to see and buy tickets for, although that's important, and that it will have synergy to what we're doing. But to the big picture, we're going to the corporations to support this. We're not looking for any support beyond what we asked for initially with the county. So we're asking for you guys to help us get this started, which you've consented to do with the contingencies that Mr. Swears has certainly cited. And so we know what's there, and we know that museums generally, now there are a lot of great museums, but the ones in Washington, for instance, they're free. The ones that make it very well, like the World War II Museum in New Orleans, does very, very well. It's one of the finest museums in the country. But we're not doing this and putting our budget together on ticket sales. We feel like that's a very minor part of what we're doing. And that burden for the annual budget, by the way, our big number also has $9 million in it for sustainability funds. So we recognize just what you said, and that's very important. You just can't build these things and open the door and people come. You've got to plan on the future, and we've done that.
All right, Mr. Swears, and we're going to wrap it up.
Just for clarification, and Ms. Altenheim, correct me if I'm wrong, but what the county has committed to, we're committing ATAX funds, which we cannot actually bind future councils for. So we are pledging $5 million at $500,000 per year for 10 years. Okay, so that is the extent of our obligation. So any future ask from the organization, if that should occur, will be determined by whatever council is seated at that time. But right now, our commitment, and again, it's a pledge, not a contract. There is no contract. Our pledge is for $500,000 a year for 10 years. And the payments we're making now, is that the first 2 of 10, or what is that?
We haven't received a payment yet.
Right, but this action will.
This will actually approve the first payment of $500,000.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Mr. McQueenie.
Sorry, did y'all miss that film? It's
yeah, it's not working. We won't be able to get it, so I'm going to have them send it out to councilmen individually.
Yeah, I might ask if y'all would take a look at the film. I think you will enjoy it.
All right,
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there a motion to move forward with this request? Is there a second?
Second.
All right, second by Mr. Worman. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, ayes have it. 9B is financial incentives for CK Cross Point. What is the pleasure?
Move for approval.
Is there a second? Second for discussion. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, ayes have it. Item C, US 17 and man.
Committee I'm sorry, go ahead, Ms. Johnson.
Move for committee, request to adopt.
Seconded by Mr. Moody. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, ayes have it. 9D is a nonprofit pandemic relief program. What is the pleasure?
Move for approval.
Moved by Ms. Johnson, second by Mr. Moody. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
9E, the micro business pandemic relief. I'm gonna remove that from the agenda to give staff, along with our attorney, some time to make sure that we headed in the right direction. And so any comments that council have now, you're free to make those comments. But as I told them, I thought that the 3 years was too long of a period and too much of a strain. And I don't want to be seen as if we are putting these people under the microscope, of most small businesses don't trust government anyway. So staff, along with the attorney, is going to check with other states and other counties to see what they're doing and then come back to something that's more feasible for us to use. Okay, so I will remove that from the agenda. All right? All right, so, Mr. Darby?
Why do we have to always worry about what other counties do? I mean, this is our problem, sir. This is us. So why do we have to go to other counties, study this and study that? You get 5 votes, you move on. Either they get it or they don't get it.
Yes, sir. This will be at our next meeting, but Mr. Darby, I think, in talking to the attorney, she wants to make sure that we meet the federal side.
Yes, sir.
Not with the restrictions.
I mean, the way you said it, sir, caused me to pause. Thank
Let me
you, sir.
restate that. She wants to make sure that we maintain, along with Mr. Durant and Mr. Davis, on the federal side, not putting our own restrictions, but whatever federal restrictions, that's all we need to follow. Anything else added, we're not going to support that.
Mr. Chair, I think that is prudent and wise to do at this time to make certain that whatever program is marketed or, the county is actually trying to put out there to support individuals in this category does not further bind or strain them.
Right.
And I really think that, taking a step back just to get the clarification, because 3 years under, duress of having to pay back or having some sort of penalty. Specifically, I know one barber, particularly during the pandemic, could not afford the lease anymore and then turned his garage into a barbershop, which is thriving today and probably was one of the best decisions he ever made because it's right in his home. Many people turn their garages into, man caves or sports, sort of hangouts or whatever the case is. He turned his into a barbershop, which was financially the best decision for him to make, but never would have contemplated that except the pandemic and couldn't afford the rent anymore. And so I just want to make sure, because there are so many different unique circumstances out there, that to have such a broad net, it may hinder individuals that we're trying to help.
Yes. Ms. Honeycutt.
And I just want to put on the record that I want this to go to the people that need it the most, and it doesn't matter to me who it goes to. I just want to make sure that the county isn't ever looked to by the federal government for the return of those funds, for them not being properly accounted for. So whatever mechanism we put in place to follow whatever federal rules and strings are attached to this money, I just want to make sure that the county isn't responsible for paying the federal government back for failing to implement a policy that would be required.
Mr. Chair, I remember quite well, specifically during the pandemic, especially in the era of PPP and all of these, needed helps to businesses, nonprofits, churches, et cetera.
Yes.
But I also remember the SBA giving out EIDL, which were loans, for lack of a better word, but they became forgivable immediately, and they did not ask for any additional hoops for individuals to jump through. And this is the SBA. They put those monies within 10 to 14 days in people's accounts, $1,000 to $12,000, and I know this personally. And when the period elapsed, they sent one form. You filled out that simple form, you uploaded it into the portal, whatever the case was, and you walked away. So, again, the federal government is not trying to make things harder for people who need the help the most. And so that is another example. So look up the SBA, EIDL, PPP. Even with PPP, some people received, who really needed it. Tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. Some folks received a lot of money. But when it came time, you went in that portal, you uploaded very simple documents, simple, and it was over.
Yes, and that's what I'm
This
looking.
was the government, and I'm talking about things that I have interfaced with myself.
Yes, sir.
And nothing that I've heard people talk about.
Yes.
It was very simple, very easy, and the government did not make it almost like you had to give your kidney in order to be a recipient of these funds.
Yes, sir. And Mr. Moody.
Thank you. Reverend Middleton, I did PPP loans, and you're right. It was relatively non-taxing, but there were requirements. You had to prove that you were in business. You had to prove you were in good standing. You had to prove you had a loss.
Certainly.
And to get forgiven, you had to also go in and do some documentation.
Right.
So what I would echo Ms. Honeycutt's, and all of our sentiments. We want the money to get to the people that need it. But what I don't want to have happen is we give the money to somebody and there's no accountability and they close the door and go on vacation. I don't want to have that happen. And to have no accountability at all, that sort of nonsense could happen. In PPP, there was a lot of fraud in PPP. You hear it every once in a while. There was a lot of fraud in that program. So living in Charleston County and staying in business, I don't think are hurdles too high but I think it's a great idea, Chairman. Kick it back. Let's let Mr. Ant and team come back with something we can all live with, and let's take it up then.
And here's my dilemma, and I've said this all before. Most of these people already met the requirement because they spent their life savings to stay in business during the pandemic when there was nothing out there for them. And I don't think, Mr. Moody, anybody's gonna take this and go on vacation, not that I know of, these little small businesses. So, I kind of, want to walk it back because I don't want people to think that the government think that's what they're gonna do with the money, reach fraud. Because a lot of these people, they maneuvered, they gave up a lot of their savings account. They robbed Peter to pay Paul because a lot of them had mortgage payments or rent payments to stay in the buildings that they were in. And so if you ask me, they have already met the criteria. But I don't think nobody on this council is saying give it to somebody without some type of criteria. Because if that's what some people are thinking, then I think you got it backwards. We all know that it has to be criteria, but I don't want it to be over criteria to where somebody says, I'm gonna do this to make sure this discourage. We're not doing that. And so Mr. Rant and Ms. Ham and Mr. Davis, they're going to get together and they're gonna look over some things, and at our next county council meeting, we'll be able to vote this and move it forward. And like Mr. Darby said, 5 members of council will determine what we move forward. Whether we like it or don't like it, then we implement it, and then whatever comes out of it. But I assure you, we're not going to put the county at risk, and nobody's going to get something for nothing. But these are the small people who pays taxes like everybody else, but wasn't allowed to get anything during the pandemic because most banks didn't even want to deal with them if it wasn't a big $2 or $3 million number. Most of the institutions didn't deal with them, and that's what I find discouraging. Most of the banks just went for the big corporation, didn't even think about the small business people.
Not me.
Yeah, well, I'm telling you, most of them, that's what they did. You have some elite schools in Charleston County right now that charge $28,000 a year for kindergarten kids. They filed and they got money, and and most of their loans are forgiven, and didn't miss a beat and didn't need a beat. So, just saying, we want to be fair because most small businesses don't have great relationship with government because they feel like they get shafted every time they try to enter into something with government. So there's distrust on both sides.
Also, Mr. Chair, just as it relates to the fraud, claim, I recall very vividly companies like the LA Lakers, Starbucks, and other Fortune 500 companies had to be shamed in order to give those funds back. And so it's not the small businesses per se, because I don't want there to be this dark cloud, as it relates to just people who, fall within a certain economic bracket or business category. It was those big, giant companies that really, sort of hovered over this thing and got it because they have people working in offices, and that's what they do all day long, and they got the money, and they had to be shamed to give it back. Some of whom, individuals who, really didn't need it again, they were the ones who were the recipients. So when you talk about fraud, it's not the mom and pops who are trying to perpetrate that.
Okay, all right, so that's gonna move on to our next county council meeting, okay? So y'all will have an answer for that at next county council meeting. All right, 9F is potential purchase of Headquarters Road. What is the pleasure? Come on, council, don't fall asleep on me.
Move for recommendation.
Is there a second? Seconded by Ms. Johnson. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, we have one recusal for Tiny Cat. Okay, that ends our agenda. So now we move into council comments. I'm gonna go down to my right, Reverend Middleton.
I said to myself I was going to say nothing because I'm trying to be a lot more introspective, especially during these 40 days leading to Good Friday and Resurrection Sunday morning. But I'm saying this to myself maybe, and prayerfully you can say it to yourself. We are servants on this council. And I know from time to time our personal feelings are, rubbed the wrong way or whatever the case is, but, it is my opinion that we have to hear that. And sometimes we have to receive that. And then oftentimes we are charged to do nothing with it. The ultimate or penultimate, characteristic of a servant leader is humility. And so when we are arguing back and forth, and or attacking the general public, I don't know how productive that becomes. But I wanted to say that because at some point we have to shift and pivot so that we might become more productive and we can be more servant-oriented. And so, groups, individuals, people come up and they say whatever they wish. But we have to have a posture and a disposition of higher service and be positioned, to serve people regardless of, comments that they make or how it may personally rub us or affect us as it relates to their comments. So I just wanted to say that because it seems like that becomes, every meeting, there's some kind of personal thing. And if we take everything personally, we'll get nothing done.
All right. Mr. Swears.
I would just like to recognize that the very first mayor of Allendale, Mayor Alston, passed away very recently. I think he started in 1990. If it wasn't 1990, that's give or take a year. Yeah, he was in his 80s, but he passed away. So if we could keep him in our prayers.
Get the family in the prayers. Thank you. Mr. Darby.
Yes, sir. I just want to say, there's no one in this council who is more humble than I am, who is more mannerable than I am. I never attacked anyone. Never. I'm concerned about my character. And when someone blows up here to cover one size fit all, I am going to take exception to that because I am for housing. I've never evinced arrogance whatsoever anytime. And I'm going to defend my character because that's all that I have. I come from a poverty-stricken area. My pops never gagged with superfluity. All I have is my last name. I've got students looking at me. And I'm not going to let them categorize me as if I am anti-housing. Because before you got here, sir, housing was being preached. So it's not the Middleton show that came here to start to say, I'm the one who started housing. Far from it. Before you got here, sir, Henry Darby and Teddy Pryor was fighting for housing. Again, I never attacked anyone, but I'm tired of people who are coming up here time and time again, particularly when we are for them. Why are you going to continue biting the hand which is trying to feed you? That doesn't make sense to me. That's to be derogatory. That's obtuse. And just as you would criticize me for what I said, now it's time for you to be criticized for what you said to them and for me. So what's the difference, Reverend Middleton? What's the difference? That's the same thing, sir. So practice what you preach, because that's your specificity. You are a preacher. Thank you, sir.
Ms. Honeycutt.
No, sir.
Ms. Johnson.
Yes, sir. I just wanted to bring to your attention that I have been wrestling with something in my district that's disturbing to me. And some of you probably have the same thing, but I just have to talk about it. In
As
District
long
8.
as you can do it in 5 minutes or less.
Yes, I will try to do it real fast. I'm concerned about the trailers, that are in my district, that are in great need of repairs.
Yes, ma'am.
And a lot of people that live in these trailers are seniors, and people who probably lived with their parents at one time, didn't have a substantial job. And so their income is very low, and they're not able to repair the trailers or go buy another house. I don't know how to deal with that, but it disturbs me a lot. And I just want to say to our housing people, please hurry up and get something going, and I hope that we are able to help situations like this. Thank you.
Ms. Johnson, and before you move on to, the question I have too, so we have funding that's available, it's just a matter of implementing something to say, let's get started with that. We don't have to wait until we come up with a whole housing plan to do repairs. So if that's something that you're interested in, you can call a housing committee meeting, since you're the chair, get it out of housing committee, bring it back to full council, and then we can move forward. But that's not something we gotta wait until the consultant comes back and tell us we gotta do that, because if majority wants to say allocate so much funding for repairs, and this council is, we can do that.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Sass?
Nothing for me, sir. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Moody?
I'm happy to report I have nothing to add.
Okay.
But I did want to thank Ms. Johnson for bringing those two rock stars in front of us tonight. Two great people. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Werman?
Nothing to add, Chairman.
Okay. All right, Mr. Tootin?
Nothing, sir.
Ms. Ham? Well, I just want to say, thanks everybody for coming out, but we are going to get serious about these housing issues, not that we have been serious before. But Mr. Werman contacted me the other day about moving forward on some things, and I told him I would bring it to council on March the 31st, I think is our next meeting.
Yes, sir.
For discussion to move things, because, even though we have a plan in place, we're implementing a plan. Some of these things we can do short-term to move forward to ease some of this. So I appreciate what Ms. Durant and her staff have done so far, but we got to figure out what are we going to do with those 18 scattered sites. Can you get me a list of all those scattered sites and either email it to me or either print it and I'll pick it up tomorrow? Those scattered sites that we have and what we are doing or what we plan on doing with it.
Yes,
Because,
sir, absolutely. And I would draw y'all's attention, are those spreadsheets in their hands yet?
I have them
You're gonna be
in the
getting a
office.
little cheat sheet, just so you know, in the last 2 years, you all have invested about 29 million in housing
Right.
initiatives. So I want to make known that you all have, housing repair, owner occupied rehab, water, sewer, septic repairs. I want you all and the public to know that you all have invested a tremendous amount of money. And you will have this cheat sheet in your hands broken down by different initiatives that have happened since July of 2020, so that you can speak to your constituents and let them know what all you actually have been doing.
Yeah, and numbers are good, but you always got that person, well, I didn't receive it.
Absolutely, and there's more demand
There's
than
more
there is.
demand than money, and so
Absolutely.
you want to make sure you want to talk to your constituents. And Mr. Darby, you asked me a question today about what are we doing for those houses that are in the unincorporated area that don't clean up the yards through code enforcement. I think we sent a letter to Columbia asking them to give us the authority to waive whatever policy is in place. But Madam Attorney, is there something we can do locally to change what we are trying to do? Because this house on, is it Orchid Avenue?
Orchid
It's
Drive, sir.
Orchid
Yes,
Drive.
sir.
The house that sits right next to it is in the city of North Charleston. And this lady actually sits in, the house that sits right next door to her is in the county. It's rat infested, rodent infested. I mean, a cat I thought was a raccoon that was so big when I went out there to investigate it because they thought it was in the city. And, they were told that, well, this house burnt down and they cleared a lot and there's nothing you can do on the county side as long as they don't put another structure there, but it's a forest. I mean, it is a forest, and I think I sent some pictures. I think I sent it to you, Mr. Armstrong, before, and some other folks.
Yes.
And so it's not fair to the lady that lives next door that keeps her yard clean and does everything. And she's got to worry because she's being told, and I'm being told, that the county has a policy that we can't make these people clean up. So I need you to research that, because there's gotta be something that needs to be done instead of us waiting on the General Assembly. If we gotta go out there and cut it and put a lien on it, so be it. But I think this lady deserves relief, and she's been asking for help for over 2 years now and can't get none. I mean, it looks like a forest, I'm telling you.
That's terrible.
So I would advise anybody who wants to see it in person, just ride down to Orchid Avenue, it's to the end of Orchid Avenue. But she just happened to be in Charleston County, and some LLC, a group of people bought the property, and now they're being told that they don't have to clean it up because of some county policy. So could you get with Mr. Evans and his folks, and whatever it takes to turn that around locally here? I'd like to get it on rules and policies so we can get that done.
Certainly.
ASAP.
Yes, sir.
Not yesterday, but last year.
Got it.
Okay. Meeting adjourned.
I agree. We gotta keep those people in their houses.
Yeah.
No, no.
Good.